Chapter 5. A Rose by Any Other Name. I was sent to the state prison 2 hours east of where I lived to serve out my time on death row. Death row prison time is very different from general population time. On death row, you spend 23 hours a day in your cell. You get out 1 hour a day for recreation time, which is nothing more than walking up and down a cement square hole with blue sky some 30 feet above you. It is slow time, and it is lonely time. Human beings were not meant to be so isolated. It really messes with your mind. I had no window, no books, nothing to help pass the time. Soon I felt the madness creeping up over me. My anxieties grew, and I lost so much weight. You can only sleep so much in a day, and I tell you, I tried to sleep every moment, but my mind was filled with the torture of my situation. That is the punishment of prison. The boredom and monotony of sitting in your small cell staring at institutional pale green cinder block walls caused my brain to ache. If it had not been for Roseanne, I don't think I would have made it those first 2 years. My lovely Rose. What can I say about her that will do her justice? Rose worked in a program that reached out to death row inmates and tried to make their lives behind bar a little more bearable. Each person was a volunteer, and they would begin by writing a death row inmate a series of letters. This is how it started, the getting to know you period. Over time, visits could be arranged, even though you talked through 2-inch plexiglass on a handheld phone. It was still a visit. You could look into a new face and see the contours of that face and the highlights in their hair. You could see a smile, and the smile of a woman is a piece of art. I had never noticed a woman's smile until the night I was shown the picture of Amy by the sheriff in his office that night. I remember she had a lovely smile. I was young, and smiles were the last thing I noticed back in those days. First, I noticed the tits and the ass. But as the years passed, I came to appreciate the erotic nature of a woman's smile. I first noticed the color of her lipstick. Her lipstick gave me a subtle hint as to her mood. If it was bright and eye-catching, she was feeling a little playful and carefree. If it was darker, she was trying to appear more businesslike and wanted to convey respect and a desire to be taken serious. I noticed the lines around her lips. Those lines that are referred to as laugh lines. Some hate it when you refer to these laugh lines. They say it makes them feel old, but I cherished each line. When I saw them, I tried to imagine all the moments through the woman's life that they had been molded by every smile and giggle she had expressed. Since she was a young girl, she had been cultivating those lines. Each line represented a moment in her life when she had found delight, either it be in a thought or from a person. Maybe when she was young, it was the first time she smiled at a boy. On another day, it was seen as she laughed at a joke. Years later, it was pressed as she smiled on her wedding day. Lastly, it was formed as she held her newborn child in her arms and was livid with excitement and joy at all the possibilities of the future. Then I noticed the teeth. Were they white and fresh like piano ivories, or were they stained from coffee and smoking? Were they perfectly straight, or was there some character in those teeth? When she smiled, did she always expose her teeth, or did you really have to make her laugh hard to get a glimpse? Rose had a beautiful smile. When she laughed with conviction and reveled in her laughter. Each one of her lines were cut deep, and I knew that she was a woman that had a zest for life. Rose was 26 when she first wrote me. She was a third-grade teacher, unmarried, and lived on the other end of the state. She told me that she had taken an interest in my case because of my young age and the incredible brutality of the case. She said that it had frightened her and intrigued her in the same breath. She wondered what had driven me to commit my crimes. When I wrote her back and tried my best in my limited ability to read and Wright explained to her that I felt I was innocent and had no memory of what had transpired that night. I explained that I was a severe drug addict and alcoholic, and I couldn't remember not even a single detail. Rose explained to me in her next letter that she was a devout Christian and that all could be forgiven, but I had to admit my sin. I wrote back to her again, professing my innocence, and I asked her to please come and see for herself. Look me in the eyes, and if you're not convinced, leave and never return. A week later, Rose drove the 360 miles to see me. When I found out she was coming, it was like Christmas morning, and I was 7 once again. I could not sleep that entire night before her visit. I only ate a little breakfast that morning because I was afraid I would vomit all over the glass when she came into the room. When they brought me into the visitation room, she was already smiling as I walked up. I sat down and picked up the phone, and that first conversation fell into place like we had known each other all our lives. I found it very easy speaking with her. She had a way about herself that made me feel very comfortable. I felt at peace in her presence. I can't believe that you drove so far to come and see me, I said to her as I peered at her through the thick glass. When you said for me to come and look into your eyes and see for myself, it made me think. The Lord said not to judge a man unless you walked a mile in his shoe. I came 360, Rose said with a laugh. You're the first person to come and see me since I was convicted, I explained to her. This statement caused her eyes to drop away and her head to tilt forward. I could see that I made her feel bad. I'm sorry, I said quickly. Please don't let me upset you. No, Rose said as she gently shook her head as with her left hand she reached up and wiped her eye. I'm just sorry that you're forced to face this difficult time all alone. She felt pity for me. She was the first person that had felt for me since the day I was arrested, and her expression of emotion touched me. I leaned forward with my elbows on the counter as I did my best to fight back my own tears. I had built up a dam to hold back my emotions. Since the day I was arrested and charged with that horrible crime, I had just figured that it was my lot in life. I had never pitied myself or wept for all that I had lost. But when I saw this sweet, wonderful woman touched by my expression of gratitude for her just taking the time to come and see me, I was shattered. I wept uncontrollably. Oh my God, no, Rose pleaded as she reached up, placing her hand against the glass. I sobbed, and then I wiped my face and nose on my sleeve of my shirt. I looked up from my place with my head down on the counter and instinctively reached up and placed my hand against the glass where her hand was. In that moment, I never felt closer to another person in all my life. After a moment, I composed myself and apologized for my breakdown. Rose only smiled. It's okay, you're only human. I smiled back. Thank you. I can't speak for Rose, but in that moment as she looked into my eyes and I looked into hers, I believe she had found what she had come to see. She never again spoke of my guilt to me. I teach 3rd grade, Rose said as our conversation continued. Wow, that must be amazing, all those kids. That must really be fun. It is, she said with a grin. It's fun and hard work at the same time. That's really amazing. I don't mean to make you feel bad, but I noticed that you only have a little education. Yes, I wasted most of my time in school on foolish things. I have brought you some books. They're from my own class, and I could bring you more if you like. Yes, that would be wonderful. We spoke for almost 2 hours, and when the time was coming to an end, I felt a bittersweet pang to see her go. She told me so much. She was unmarried and lived with her mother and father in a town that was about a mid-size in population. She played the piano and loved nature and water. She talked about the ocean and the sand on the beach. I had never seen the ocean or any significant water of any kind. She talked so vividly about the sound of the waves crashing on the shoreline and the sound of the gulls. She spoke of the salty smell of the seawater and the taste of it on her lips after a swim. She laughed about sunburns from past days and rubbing aloe vera on her reddened skin. She spoke of music and her passion for the classics. She expressed how music could uplift a caged soul and set it free to fly. And I told her about Albert and Terence and the song they sang to one another the day they were being split up. That's so sweet, she said as I finished my story about Albert and Terence. It was like being deaf your entire life and then hearing again, but not just the voice of a man, but the voice of angels. It is a moment and feeling that I will carry with me forever, I told her. That is how music is for me, she said. I have a different tune for all kinds of feelings. Sometimes I feel up and I want something fun and flowing. On days when I feel a little melancholy, there is nothing better than Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. I don't know it, I confessed. Oh, she remarked as her eyes filled with light. It is such a dramatic piece. That is a lone piano and a man sitting at the keys playing each note with the very essence of his soul. It is a joyful sadness that makes you happy to know that you can feel this injured. It is like loving something and then losing it and giving thanks to God that He allowed you the ability to love something so much because of how bad you now feel after losing it. The pain makes it real. Rose was so right. It is the pain that makes it real. You never know how much you love something till you have lost it. Pain gives credence to the love. If you have never had a broken heart, then you have never really been in love. Just listening you talk about it fills me with sorrow, I said. But it's a good kind of sorrow. The best way to describe it for me is a beautiful day, and you are off and you have all these plans, and then after you get ready and step out the front door, you see the sky has turned all gray and it is beginning to rain. At first you are disappointed, but as the rain begins to slowly fall down and a cool breeze blows in and you smell the fresh scent of rain on the wind, you smile. That's why I never make any big plans, because I'm always aware that I could get derailed and that might lead to something even better. After Rose had left and I was taken back to my cell, I was left there in the silence and loneliness that always awaited me, but I felt happy. I so wanted to hear Moonlight Sonata. I thought to myself as I sat back in my cell and went over and over again in my mind her explanation of the song. I imagined it first as raindrops falling slowly on a tin roof. As each drop fell and struck the metal, there arose a different tone. Each drop was different in size, and the metal noted the fact with every thud. I heard a slow rain falling. Just as the storm was beginning, the drops fell one or two here and there. Then there was a pause, and after a moment a few more fell. There, here, there, and back over there. Here, there. The tune planed out as the wind blew in from the east. As I heard the tune in my head, I began to move my fingers as if I was moving them across the piano's keys. I pounded out each note with a feeling that erupted from the depths of my soul. I did not just play the notes, I lived them, I felt them, I gave birth to them. Each tone was not just music, it was the beating of my own heart. The music was life to me, and sitting there in the silence of my cell, I felt a true kinship with Beethoven. I did not know it then, but later I would discover that Beethoven had went deaf. What kind of hell had that been for a man that was born with the gift to give angels voices? All that he had cherished the most in his life had been taken from him, and he was forever locked in a silent tomb. I would then come to the realization that Beethoven never lost the sound that he loved so much, for it lived within him, and he could feel it just as he could feel every beat of his heart. I received the books from Rose, and I spent hours reading them. She had brought a dictionary, and I made it my duty to read out every word, cover to cover. As I advanced, her visits continued, and we corresponded on a regular basis. Soon she brought me classic novels like Treasure Island and Moby Dick. It was then, as I read the classics of literature, that I too discovered a love for the ocean. Even though I had never seen the vast expanse of the sea or heard the sound of gulls, this passion grew inside of me. I could taste the salt water on my lips and feel the spray on my face. I felt the rocking of the ship and was amazed by the greatness of it all. I never had felt so small and so big at the same moment. Not long after, I was reading Shakespeare and underlining passages that touched me the most. I quoted them to myself. To sleep, perchance to dream, for in this sleep of death what dreams may come. And a new favorite, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Rose, Rose, how you have become my salvation. You have brought me up out of the darkness and filled my world with light. I am blind and you have shown me an ocean. I am deaf and you have played for me a concert. I am all these things locked in this prison cell and you have given me the keys to the universe. I may never walk on a sandy beach or sit in an opera house, but because of your gifts of books, I have done all these things and more. I have been to the darkest parts of Africa, and I have flown to the moon and back. You set me free in spirit and mind. I arose from the dead because it was your voice that I heard in my dark slumber. I sit each day with pencil in hand, and all I can do is draw your face over and over again. I know it as well as I know my own face. I know every freckle, every hair. I see each subtle shade of your skin and each dramatic tone in your eyes. In your hair, I see each auburn strand and know each and every shine and the different kinds of light that dance in your hair. I know your face better than I know my own. I know the fullness of your lips and the way you bite on your lower one when you're being silly. I see the way your nose wrinkles up when you laugh. I notice the shape of your jaw and the sleek angle of your chin. I know the contours of your neck and the slenderness of your shoulders. I feel the touch of your hands and both their strength and tenderness. I have seen your imperfections, but who can say that they are not perfect? Each mistake to some is a miracle of design to me. They are what makes you who you are. I could be a blind man and I would know each and every line of your face. I could be a deaf man and I would hear your voice as a constant ring in my ears. Your face is like a blanket that covers me and a sun that shines down on me. It is the moon that watches over me as I sleep. It is the dream that invades my nightly slumber. You are each and every breath I take, and I would spend every breath down to my last to whisper your name 1,000 times over and over again. I damn my soul, and that I have not the words to tell you how important you are to me. I am not Shakespeare, and I cannot write a play or a song like Beethoven. I can only desperately dream of you and drive myself mad with each thought of you. I would pluck out my own eyes from my head if that could save me from the image of your beauty. To me, the beauty is like a burning arrow that has pierced my soul and sent me to burn. I would tear my tongue from my mouth if it would keep me from crying out your name. I am a poor, poor man, but I am rich with the passion I have for you. I am a child. I am a man. I am a liar. I am a thief. I am laid bare before you and left to bake in the sun. Burn, burn me, I cry. Burn me and set me free. I am made to ash in the midst of your majesty. You then are the wind that draws me up and scatters me to the ends of the earth. I am a grain of sand in your palm. I am a drop of water and you are the ocean. I am nothing and you are everything. I am a man and you are a woman. In the darkness there is nothing between us but the night. Kiss me once and then let me die. Your lips is a poison and I am addicted. Kiss me once and let me die. You are like wine on my lips. I am drunk. Kiss me once. Kiss me forevermore. My education continued, and I look forward to every visit with Rose. The letters that we exchanged over the years gave me a reason to go on. I confessed my love for her, and she reciprocated. Our writings took on an erotic nature, but they were never dirty. Rose was a lady. She continued to visit me and bring me more books, and I did my best to expand my mind. A man in my position will often turn to religion as he searches for some sort of comfort and understanding. I read all the big books, the Bible, Quran, and the others, but it was in Zen Buddhism that I finally discovered answers to many of my questions. I had been searching for the reasons as to why. As much as I loved Rose, I could not buy the fact that this was all part of God's plan. If this has been God's plan, it was a shitty one. Why was I chosen to pay for crimes that I had not committed? Sure, I was guilty of many things. I was a drug addict, a drunkard, but I never killed that lady. I had many long nights to think on this subject, and even though I could not remember each moment of that horrible night, I knew I had never killed no one. This plan of God's made no sense to me. Why had God taken both Amy and I and shoved us both into this insane situation? He had taken her life in the most horrible fashion and condemned me to the same fate. Whereas Amy had a moment of anguish and pain, it was I that was sentenced to a lifetime of horror. Amy Pilford and Thomas Allen Anderson had become forever locked together on one evening with a chance crossing of paths at a local Stop and Shop. This was a plan I could have no part in, and I dismissed it as I considered it garbage. I read Nietzsche's Parable of a Madman, and I too came to the conclusion that God was indeed dead. As a society, we had killed him, or at least contributed to his death. As the years of history had progressed, and we have become more evil towards our fellow man, The stink of a decomposing God had risen into our nostrils and driven us mad. In the ovens of Auschwitz, we had burned away all that was left of our humanity. What kind of God would allow this if he was still alive? What kind of God would allow a young, beautiful, caring woman to die alone, freezing in the snow? What kind of God would give a boy a great love of nature and then instill in him a paralyzing fear of the woods? I also learned one more thing from all my education. I learned about a condition called holophobia, or an intense fear of the woods. I suffered from holophobia and still did not know why.